Damn, Dylan. Things are getting heated real fast, man. The Browns look like they may be getting rid of Dillon Gabriel before real training camp even starts, man. We got to get into it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. As always, we got to get into the story here, courtesy of Roundtable Network. Man, Dillon Gabriel is almost like
The Cleveland Browns front office just proved that the quarterback competition is an absolute undeniable lie, and the most ruthless roster purge of the season is happening right now. The coaching staff has officially made their choice. The quarterback room is being actively cleared out, and the internet is completely exploding. Welcome back to NFL Zone Talks. If you thought Kevin Stefanski was going to host a fair, open competition for the starting job this summer, you are completely out of your mind. The brutal, terrifying truth was just exposed. The internet is completely melting down over explosive new reports that the Browns are outright releasing Dillon Gabriel. They are literally firing a talented young quarterback and sending him packing before training camp even begins. Why? Because they are absolutely terrified of letting anyone take a single practice rep away from Shedeur Sanders. Listen, you do not cut a quarterback in May unless you are actively trying to send a massive, undeniable message to the entire locker room. And that message is clear. Shedeur Sanders is the undisputed king of Cleveland, and nobody is allowed to compete with him.
forgotten man in this whole thing. Now we all know Dillon Gabriel was overdrafted. He in no lifetime should have Dillon Gabriel have been drafted before Shedeur Sanders. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was a sham. We know what took place. Okay. But all in all, this competition is strictly a Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders thing, and Dillon Gabriel is really on the outs. The Browns drafted Taylor Green, another quarterback, late in the draft. And now it looks like they're being urged to go ahead and part ways and either try to find an asset that they can collect for Dillon Gabriel or to just release him completely. We got to get into it, man. This is crazy, man.
The reality of the National Football League is incredibly unforgiving, and the Cleveland Browns front office is proving right now that they have absolutely zero patience for dead weight. Before the full pads have even come out for official training camp, the coaching staff is already identifying players who simply do not fit the new culture, and they are preparing to make some massive, headline-grabbing cuts. If you thought the tension in Berea was exclusively between the starting quarterbacks, you need to look slightly further down the depth chart, because a very recognizable name is currently fighting for his professional life. We are about to break down why the Browns are actively being urged to purge their quarterback room, the intense safety battle brewing on defense, and a massive, highly controversial gamble the front office is currently considering in the supplemental draft. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Are the Browns moving too fast? Or is this the exact kind of ruthless leadership this franchise has been missing for decades?
Turn of events for Dillon Gabriel. It says the Cleveland Browns should trade or cut Dillon Gabriel. The Cleveland Browns have been urged to part ways with Dillon Gabriel. Cleveland has 4 quarterbacks: Gabriel, Watson, Sanders, and Green. It says the Browns are holding a quarterback competition that is essentially a two-man race between Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. And Watson is the early leader, they say. Christopher Knox, a Bleacher Report, wrote down, however, Cleveland needs to develop its entire quarterback room, especially given the team's recent injury history at the position. With rookie 6th-round pick Taylor Green in the equation and only so many reps to go around in training camp, the Browns should look to trade Dillon Gabriel before.
To understand why the front office is preparing to make an incredibly tough decision, you have to look at the simple, unyielding math of the quarterback room. The Cleveland Browns currently have 4 quarterbacks on the roster: Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel, and rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson. The problem is that head coach Todd Monken is currently overseeing a massive 50-50 starting competition between Watson and Shedeur. Those two are absolutely dominating the practice reps, leaving essentially nothing left over for the developmental guys. Because of this logjam, prominent national outlets like Bleacher Report are aggressively urging the Browns to immediately part ways with Dillon Gabriel. Gabriel is rapidly becoming the forgotten man in Cleveland, and his situation is a harsh reminder of how quickly the league moves on. When you break down the actual football fit, it becomes glaringly obvious why Gabriel's days are numbered. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox outlined it perfectly. While Gabriel possesses the intangibles to be a decent long-term backup in this league, he fundamentally lacks the elite physical tools required to operate as a starter. More importantly, his specific skill set is a terrible fit for the aggressive, vertical scheme that Todd Monken is currently installing. With limited reps to go around, and a younger, cheaper option in Dorian Thompson-Robinson waiting in the wings, the Browns simply cannot justify burning practice time on a player who doesn't fit the system. The front office is currently exploring the market, desperately trying to find a trade partner to salvage some asset value. But if a deal doesn't materialize soon, an outright release is highly probable. While the offensive depth chart is getting trimmed, the defensive side of the ball is preparing for a highly competitive rotation. The safety room is entirely up for grabs, and new defensive coordinator Mike Rutenberg has some massive decisions to make. During a recent segment on 92.3 The Fan, Browns beat reporter Dan Labby broke down the dynamic between veteran Ronnie Hickman and the highly touted rookie Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. While Hickman is currently projected to start based on his solid performance last year, McNeil-Warren is absolutely pushing him for minutes. The real benefit of this depth is what it allows Rutenberg to do with Grant Delpit. By establishing a reliable rotation at free safety, the coaching staff can free up Delpit to play down in the box, his natural, most disruptive position, rather than forcing him to cover in the slot. The secondary is getting deeper, and the competition is forcing everyone to elevate their game. This intense level of competition across the entire roster is a direct reflection of the culture Todd Monken is trying to build. When asked how many tangible wins Monken's new mentality could add to the schedule, Labby offered a very grounded perspective. It isn't just about Monken's specific play calling, it is about the collective rise in talent, the maturation of the roster, and most importantly, the expectation of adequate quarterback play. If the Browns can simply get competent, efficient execution under center, regardless of who wins the starting job, Monken's system and culture shift could easily add 1 or 2 wins to a difficult schedule. The offense doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. It just needs to stop actively sabotaging the defense. A massive part of fixing that offensive sabotage falls squarely on the shoulders of the new offensive line coach, George Warhop. The Browns' offensive line was a complete disaster last season, suffering from a severe lack of talent and a mid-season coaching collapse that eventually forced Mike Vrabel to step in and try to salvage the trenches. Warhop is being brought in to execute a massive turnaround, and he brings a tough, detail-oriented style that is highly reminiscent of legendary line coach Bill Callahan. Warhop is expected to push this rebuilt unit, featuring a mix of established veterans and highly drafted rookies, to the absolute limit. If he can get this offensive line to hit the ground running, the entire trajectory of the offense completely changes. But the most fascinating and potentially controversial storyline developing right now has nothing to do with the current roster. It involves a massive gamble the front office is quietly considering. The college football world is currently monitoring the legal situation of Brandon Sorey, a wildly talented player who was attempting to regain his eligibility following a severe gambling suspension. If his injunction fails and he is forced to enter the NFL supplemental draft, the Cleveland Browns are heavily rumored to be interested. Sorey would essentially require a full redshirt year just to get his personal life and off-field addiction issues completely under control. The situation is drawing intense comparisons to the Josh Gordon saga from 2012. The front office knows the devastating risks involved with gambling addictions, but they also recognize Sorey's undeniable game-changing talent. If the Browns can secure him for a second or third round pick, they might just be willing to roll the dice on a player who could eventually become a cornerstone of the franchise, assuming he can get his life back on track. The Cleveland Browns are operating with a terrifying level of urgency. They are preparing to cut ties with recent draft picks who don't fit the system, overhauling the trenches with an iron fist, and actively considering massive, high-risk draft gambles. The old way of doing business in Berea is officially dead, and the Todd Monken era is taking absolutely no prisoners. Do you think the Browns should take a massive risk and draft Brandon Sorey in the supplemental draft? Or is the off-field gambling baggage too toxic for a team trying to build a new culture? Drop your absolute most unfiltered takes in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the truth.